Welcome back. I hope everyone was able to enjoy their winter break last week, and hopefully you guys got some rest and relaxation, and hopefully you're enjoying this great weather this week. So today we have a very special guest, um, and arguably one of the most important people within the annals of Bellarmine. So this gentleman is a graduate of 1955 from Bellarmine. He was a valuable member of the speech and debate team during his tenure at Bellarmine. He was not only a graduate, but he was also a teacher and the president of Bellarmine. As a matter of fact, when I attended Bellarmine, he was the president during my 4 years, and arguably the best president during the for the hit in the history of Bellarmine. Obviously, along with our current president, Mr. Meyercord. So 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 with that, as a priest, I'm not sure there's any priest in the history of the church that has done more baptisms, more weddings, and more funerals than this gentleman. So you can only imagine what that is. He has spent literally his entire life, his entire adult life, in the selfless service for and with others. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce the great Father Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And I also like to thank Samarth and Ashok for asking me to be with you. Okay. And it's kind of hard. I'm now 83 years old and I'm not going to cover 83 years in the time allotted. I want to leave time for some questions. Okay. But before I begin, I just want to say one thing that it'll play back a little bit later. You've heard of us Jesuits because you're going to a Jesuit school. Okay. And you've heard of Ignatius Loyola, beginning the Society of Jesus in the era of 1539 to 1542, so centuries ago. But one of the important things to remember is this, that Ignatius Loyola had about seven close companions, and they, after being together for a few years, they met when they called a deliberation. They deliberated, they talked about what they should do. Should they remain individuals doing great things for the church and the world, they thought, or should they come together and form a company? In fact, a company of Jesus, okay, the Jesuits. And they decided after some days, finally, and it's almost this, paraphrase the words, we feel we can do more collectively together to make a difference in people's lives and reach more people together than if we do things alone, okay? So I just based that as something I'll come back to. Okay. So a little bit of my history anyway. I did go to Bellarmine, but I also grew up in the town of Santa Clara, born in 37. So I was very much alive during the 40s. Okay. The Second World War, I have some memories of that. I was probably about third grader when the war ended. Okay. In 45. My mom and dad never went to college. My mom was born on a dirt road called Lawrence Station Road, which now is Lawrence Expressway, but it was a dirt road in a little farm. My dad was born pretty much on the corner of Julian and San Pedro Streets, downtown San Jose. And he did not have money after high school to go to college, but he worked at a pharmacy, and he just kept working at the pharmacy through his years of 18 through maybe 24 or 23, and did a correspondence course. You could do that in those days. Took about 5 weeks off, did a crash course in San Francisco, and passed the boards and was a pharmacist, okay? And I mentioned my dad and mom both because they were really people persons, okay? They loved to be involved in people's lives and very generous. And I'm showing you a picture of my dad behind Wade's Mission Pharmacy in Santa Clara. He held his, can you see that?
There you go.
And my father, I saw that because I'll mention something about him in a minute that was important in my life. Okay. So I grew up in Santa Clara, went to Catholic schools, St. Clair's, the parish there was Jesuit, lived very near Santa Clara University, and then came to Bellarmine. So I've never known a priest in those days other than a Jesuit, because Santa Clara was Jesuit, St. Clair's was Jesuit, and then to Bellarmine. And just about why I chose what I did was I didn't think about being a priest before I came here or something like that, or even a Jesuit. But when I came to my sophomore year, I picked up the newspaper called The Cardinal. If you go into history, we don't have it anymore, but it was a school newspaper named after Cardinal Robert Bellarmine, so The Cardinal. And I read the first issue of my sophomore year. There's a picture of 5 guys in black cassocks who had just graduated in the class of 52. Student body president, first All-American football player, the best actor, the best speech and debate guy, and then the comedian of the class who also played football, but he was at all the rallies and had a group called the Happy Inmates. But really leaders of the class and so on, and they entered the Jesuits. And so I said, wow, these are all leaders. That happened my sophomore year, my junior year again, and in fact, 9 guys. So there was only about 140 guys in a graduating class, okay? So they get that percentage. So my senior year, I was asked, what are you going to do? And I said, gee, I'll maybe be a pharmacist or follow my dad footsteps or maybe go into medicine. Do you ever think about being a Jesuit? Well, yeah, I don't know much about it, but the pharmacy, I wanted to be like my dad because my dad was a real people person. And I haven't realized this until maybe recent years, that I want to kind of live my life like he. And he was a person that really lived his life for other people. The type of person, he never drove a car. He walked to work every day for about 6 blocks. But like on a Sunday, he might be open every 3 weeks. And if somebody called in sick, needed a prescription, he walked out. He would get on a City Line bus, take the prescription out to the person, that type of person, a person for others. But I didn't do that well in chemistry my senior year. So I said, I don't want to be a pharmacist maybe. So make a long story short, I said yes. And about 5 of us entered the Jesuits for my senior year. Okay. Not knowing what was going to happen, but because I was really impressed who entered the Jesuits ahead of me, regular guys, good guys, fun guys. And also the young teachers I had, the multitude of our teachers were ages 24 to 30 who had been young Jesuits. And I looked very happy. And they were doing something great together. Okay. We had mainly late Jesuit teachers then. So I ended up at Los Gatos. Make a long story short, going through the studies and stuff, you were kind of cloistered up. You went through your degrees. I got part of my training after 4 years was going up to Spokane to a seminary, but we got our credits through Gonzaga U. I got a bachelor's and a master's there. And then you're assigned after 7 years to finally do some work. And I was assigned to Bellarmine to work as a young teacher, coming back like I was a Mr. Wade. And I taught all, in those days, most took Latin. I taught all the junior Latin classes, okay? I was a prefect in the senior boarding hall, which is the old house still on the corner there, and drove buses and stuff. But I really really enjoyed it because I was doing finally something working together. I went on to do studies in theology after 3 years teaching here, and then ordained a priest. Now, people ask me, I was ordained a priest 13 years after I entered the Jesuits. And that sounds like a long time. But I think maybe Father Cobb would agree with me on this, that in those days, when people ask me today, when did you start thinking about being a priest? I said, I really didn't. They said, what do you mean? I said, I knew I'd be a priest, but I thought about being a Jesuit, first of all, okay? I knew eventually I'd be a priest. But if I was going back to the 3 years of teaching, I wasn't rushing to get to be the priesthood. I was doing what I really entered for, to work in collaboration with others to make a difference on people's lives. And just a little parentheses, I have to watch it on stream today because I can't go out into do funerals yet. But there was a funeral today for a member of the class of 65, longtime friend of mine. I've taught him 3rd year Latin. I helped with his daughter's wedding years ago. And so the relationships that I built up during those 3 years, I'm still very close to, okay? Anyway, after I was ordained a priest, then I knew I would be, a lot of my life has been ministry, but after doing a master's in Latin at SC and supposed to teach at Loyola High in Los Angeles, I was assigned there. The then president, who was the 3 years ahead of me at Bellarmine, Father Pat Cahalan, who was the comedian of the class, football player. He was the president, and I was age 32, and he asked me to be the vice principal prefect of discipline. So I really taught just 5 years of Latin, one class, but I got into administration the rest of my life at age 32. So I was vice principal at Loyola High, mainly dealing with the area of the students, ran all the dances, all of that type of thing, oversaw the athletics as a moderator, you might say, but really with the young men, they're one of the happiest 5 years of my life, okay? But then the provincial stepped in. I was very happy there, and he said I was thinking about my going to Jesuit High Sacramento, which was a very young school at the time, okay? So the next year, I picked in June, packed my bags and went to Jesuit High School. I became the president of Jesuit High School in Sacramento and superior of the Jesuit community. So I was then, the president there at age 37. And it had its growing pains. It was a young school then, but Jesuit High School is a very strong school today. In 79, that was 75 to 79, I was there. 79, because the current president of Bellarmine was taking the provincial's place, Mitchell told me, you're probably going to move to Bellarmine, because I knew the school very well. And they had gone through 2 or 3 presidents in a row there. And so I was assigned then to come back to Bellarmine in 79 as a superior of the Jesuit community and as president of the school. In those days, the president was also the superior of the Jesuit community. And there was a larger community of Jesuits at the time. So in those days, it was always a job that they changed after 6 years. But they started in dividing that job. So I was the superior of the community of Jesuits for 5 years. Could only be 6. It was 5 years, and then I stayed on 9 more years as president. So I was president for 14 years. At the time, I signed, by God, Mr. Arnold's diploma. And in fact, I was one thing I learned along the line was my community. I'm a Jesuit community member, but my community brought it out to the lay faculty as well and the staff. His dad was a teacher at Bellarmine then and head football coach at the time. So one of my friends, and one of the things that I think have loved and maybe a talent for is my community are the people that I work with day in, day out. There are fewer Jesuits now, but my community are the Jesuits, Father Mario and the rest of them, Father Cobb and so on, Father Shinny until he now is up in Los Gatos at our care facility. Doing well, though. He would want me to say hello to you guys. But I've always found the lay faculty staff. And when I say faculty and staff, I'm thinking of people like in the kitchen, okay, that serve you guys. You know, Mary, you haven't seen her now, but she reaches out to the students all the time, okay? Carino Arias, the head of our maintenance. That's my community, okay, of guys working together. Because we're all, Bellarmine, you guys are getting a good education here, I think. But it takes a crowd to do it, not just the classroom people, not just myself, Mr. Meyercord, Mrs. Lusher, and so on, your teachers, but it takes the people around that campus that do especially now in the classrooms, okay? Cleaning them every day, how important that is, okay? So just to remember. But anyway, make a long story short, I've been here now 41 years, 14 years as president, and then back again as superior of the community for another 6 years, okay? And by the way, another diploma I signed when I was president was Mr. Meyercord's. He graduated in 1988. And now he's my boss, and I hate to say it, but my 2 bosses. One, Mr. Meyercord, of course, and the other one is Mr. Arnold. I work for Mr. Arnold now. So, I mean, they better be nice to me anyway. Sign the diplomas to get out of here. Anyway, so I did that for another 6 years. And then they gave me the title of chancellor, whatever that means. It means a person, I guess, that was in president at one time and doing a lot of public relations, fundraising. But most of my work today, as Mr. Arnold kind of hinted, has been in ministry. Okay, like I would have been at that funeral today in normal times. I mean, I had a hard time keeping weddings and funerals and baptisms. My one busiest day one time, I was thinking people give me a bad time. I had a baptism in the morning and a little reception, a wedding about 12:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday reception, and then drove up to Sacramento where I had been before to do a 50th wedding anniversary mass in Sacramento for an older couple. And the reception, of course, I stayed overnight, but that was a baptism, a wedding, and a 50th wedding anniversary. I kept all the names straight too. Believe me, I can do that. But I've been blessed with a good memory, and I love to reflect about what I've done over the years. And I've been graced in that sense because I entered the Jesuits again. I said, I entered the Jesuits. I knew I'd be a priest, but I entered to join this group of men, form a community, which brought it into the lay faculty and staff, women and men. Okay. And today I'm still doing what I decided my career would be. Now, my career was not like my deciding because, as I told you, I was sent to Bellarmine to teach as a young guy. I was sent to teach at Loyola High, but made the vice principal. Sent to be the superior and president at Jesuit High Sacramento. Sent, this was all kind of like, you listen to me, the provincial would say, but I've been here since that time, and I'm working mainly now with, as I say, alumni in ministry, but also with foundations. And then I do a lot of public relations work. I'm on a board of a foundation, Leo Shortino. You can look up the Leo Shortino, Shortino Foundation, Family Foundation, to help at-risk kids. And kids for going to school, and we provide scholarships to Bellarmine too, in part, but we do a lot of work in the schools out in the East Side, grammar or elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. Okay, and so you develop that kind of thing too. I was going to say, the big thing is that I relish in is I followed in my dad's footsteps, I think, and my mother's to a certain extent too. I have my dad had a great personality, and everybody wanted him at parties, and he'd be the last guy to leave. Usually, my mom. And one time after my dad died in '93, my mom lived till age 103 in 2008. So, and she was perfect shape through 2001. I remember coming home after somebody's house for dinner one night, and we were the last people to leave. And she says to me in the car, she said, "Jerry, sometimes you remind me a little too much of your father." And I said, "Mom, you just gave me the greatest compliment in the world." Okay. You say you never know when to shut up and go home. But it's been a blessing for me. And so I have a great education, I think, behind me. But my education was, and I think my message to you fellows, and I think it's the message that we really have more in our schools today than we did when I was a student, even, that we are people who need to use our talents, develop them, but to be able to make a difference in the lives of others for and with others. Okay. So I'll leave you with that. And then I have other things to say, I could, but with that message of saying that I've really been happy with the choice I made, the people I've met, and Father Cobb and I could tell you we have some great memories of being together on some great trips together too. But a lot of our memories are talking about the young men and now their wives and so on, and special friends and their children who we've been part of their lives. Okay, starting with their parents, because a lot of my work has been done with that, with parents and so on. But a lot of it's been with the students here and their children. And I'll leave it at that, and maybe some questions from you guys about who and what I am. See, like I know Mr. Milligan over there, Ryan, because I met his grandparents years ago when his dad came here. And so it's kind of a lifetime thing that I I knew it was a Milligan on campus. I didn't know what he looked like. And then he got me to do a stupid uh, skit with Father Mario and Father Shinny. You guys maybe saw that, but but I knew his grandmom and Lou Milligan, okay, was his grandfather. And so that's been a blessing in our lives because, of the people you meet. I'll stop.
All right, Father, but I have a quick question. One thing I want you guys to all realize is that arguably the most people we ever had on campus at Bellarmine was for an event related to Father Wade, his 80th birthday. It was an incredibly special day, and you literally had multiple generations on campus to celebrate his birthday, and it was a special day. But my question, Father Wade, is, you had time as both an administrator and a teacher. Which of the two did you prefer and why?
Well, an interesting question. I'm going to answer that not with the answer you think I'm going to come up with. They're all the same. Maybe as an administrator, one of them, they all had great times because I hinted at it. Being the vice principal at Loyola High School, those guys were going back to reunions today. The oldest ones are 45 years reunions, okay, right now. And it's a delight because I got to know them in that job better than any other job. You really know the young men, okay, that are there. And so you go by memories. But, really, Pat, I only didn't mention too much about being a superior, but I was a superior 3 times at Jesuit High School when I was president, my first 5 years at Bellarmine, and then 6 more. Of being the superior of the Jesuits. I probably am more in my background made out to be a superior of the community. It sounds bad, the word superior. Used to call him rector. But to be able to be affirming to the men that I live with and work with, and to treat each of them differently in a sense of they're all different people with different needs. And I really enjoyed that part, okay? I'm probably more cut out to do something like that than I'm not really good with numbers but I had really good people around me to take care of the budgets and stuff, okay? I mean, I'm not a great person to read audits or that kind of stuff, but being president, first of all, being teacher, yes. I mean, just like today, I would have been there for the guy that gave the eulogy today at the funeral. I knew very well another one of that group. Used to get together every Christmas, before Christmas, at the Olympic Club in San Francisco with a group of about 12 or 15 fellows. This guy today who died was part of that. We just had a group of 12 people that did it every Christmas. So it was fun being a teacher in that sense. You stay with them. But being president, meeting people like Wayne and Gladys Valley and then their foundation, and being with them on I was nervous a few times when Wayne Valley, my first time I asked him for some money, he said, he says, "Hell, Jerry had a big cigar. I can't help you. I just had brother Bill in from St. Mary's College. Hell, I played football for them for 2 years, and I had to tell him, no, I can't tell you yes, like that." But he was just kind of seeing how I would react, I think. But we became great friends, and he took me up and showed me painting in his room where he was coaching. He owned another guy, and he owned the Oakland Raiders in the beginning. And one of the first coaches there was Al
Davis.
Al Davis, and Davis then became part owner, and he kind of squeezed Valley out of the thing. And he showed me this oil painting where it was Wayne Valley had thrown a dart in his face, And so I knew once he showed me that we were friends, and the other foundation, and they've helped us so much with the buildings you're walking around in at Bellarmine today. His son is the name on the building over there in the gymnasium. Okay, so dealing in that kind of area was kind of fun with his wife, sitting down and having lunch with her periodically. So it meets some wonderful people. So all of them have been great. But so I would say I'm cut out to be maybe more just with my brother Jesuits. Okay. Some more questions.
So if anybody has any questions, just use the hand raise feature. Ryan, I see you got a question.
Ryan?
Go for it.
I have a question. Father Wade, is there anything that you've obviously had a pretty spectacular life? Is there anything that you kind of want to do in the future that you haven't gotten around to yet?
Clean out my files and start organizing myself when I will no longer maybe be going up to Los Gatos to our retirement center. I keep so many things. I mean, I think I probably have somewhere here. The exams, a few of my exams I gave when I was teaching third year Latin years ago. Okay, and I had taught for 23 years. I did come back and teach for 2 years when one priest died of the advanced placement Latin year. But no, getting myself more organized, to be able to step back and say no to people. Sometime I can't do it anymore. But I look forward to kind of being able to maybe just enjoy the company of my Jesuit. If I live long enough to keep going and spend some time with them, and to help make a difference in their lives as well. Okay. So far, God has blessed me with a good memory and mind. I have a cane, as you know, but the mind is still pretty good. So I'm looking forward to trying to make sure I keep that young youth. Okay. Okay.
Evan?
Hi, Father Wade. I was just wondering, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Okay. My dad probably, we never read the Bible. We, like in school here when I was a student, we did not read Bible ever. We read a religion text, more like what to do as Catholics and stuff like that. But my dad told me years ago, I mean, I don't know where it was in the Bible, but my dad said, son, he says, always treat others as you would have them treat you. And I remember that. And that's the way my dad lived this life. Okay. And so that was from my dad at a very young age, was how to treat people. And I watched him do that. Okay. He never said a bad word about anybody else. And he also, with his employees, he had too many employees. My mom could have killed him a little bit, but he didn't want anybody to work too hard. And he affirmed them. So my dad gave me probably great advice. In the Jesuits, over the years, there's a priest who was the superior up at Los Gatos when I entered, but also the former president and rector superior at Bellarmine when I was teaching here, Father William Keenan. If you come in my office sometime when we can be back together, his picture is on my credenza. Okay, Father William Keenan. Just maybe not so much what he said to me, but the way he was a human person. And those days you have to have an altar server. Well, you serve the priest would serve mass at the altar server. Well, he was, after dinner dances in the gym, he says, hey, God, I can't get up. Can I want to say mass at 11, would you serve my mass? He was a human person by, just being a very holy priest, but, take time for yourself. So I do take time. He was kind of telling me, take time to enjoy the moment, to smell the roses. I do that. I don't move on to the next thing. And especially if I'm having a good time talking to someone like Pat Arnold, okay? I know I should be getting back to doing something that I have on my desk, but it's so darn good to talk with Pat that I get energized by that. So that's smelling the roses, okay? And there's a hand down here too.
Yeah, Liam.
Liam?
Yeah, I was wondering, so like looking back on your life, is there anything that you like regret, or any times where like you wished you had known something that you didn't know at the time?
Yeah, I think I I wish I hadn't taken the studies so like in philosophy and so much so seriously. I mean, I was I was trying to do well all the time. I would say, I had a couple of good teachers in that, but some of the stuff that we got, I would never use again. So that would be one thing, maybe. Um, Regret. I also, little regrets sometime when I have sometimes maybe not answered a phone call when I see who's calling, because I know it would take me time or it would put a burden on me because I know that person would want something and I sometimes knew what it was. But I've been pretty good because as president, sometimes you get complaints about maybe something else, the way it's handled, okay? Like that. But I will always eventually call somebody back. But sometimes maybe not being as patient as I should be when I need to be on the phone. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We're almost, we got a few minutes yet. Yes, another question. I think I see
Liam.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay. Any other final questions?
I will just say that kind of maybe in conclusion, what I really miss right now is having you guys back on campus all the time. It's been very hard on us here in the Jesuit community because you're our life, and we live here, and it's so strange not in the morning to, but I have a room that faces out toward the quad, okay, and where I am, and to hear the noise and the laughter, and my room is right above the chapel, the Leontine Chapel, right above that fountain. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story about that. You don't get any ideas, but I'm going to tell you this. But it's kind of funny, And you have guys gather together, around the fountain sometime and stuff. And Mr. Healy teaches it. He always had one day out of each semester there where he had, I'm not sure what it was, but teaching out there and hearing. So I missed the noise of being there. But I should tell you this story. But there was one time toward the end, we had a great dean here. Oh God, I forget his name. You know, Pat, who I'm talking about, but
Was it Dean Kerr?
no, this is much later.
Oh, later. Oh, okay.
But he was great because he kept the kids off the grass. I mean, they're walking they had to walk down the pavement because Father Reese was principal and I was president. We put all those paths in, and it was really, I was getting angry because they were chewing up the lawn by walking on it. Okay, it was a great dean. But toward the end of one year, some of the students got going in with water balloons. Okay, and kind of tossing it. Well, they could be dangerous. When I was vice principal at Loyola High, I was death on that because you could really get hurt. So I come back from lunch one day during this. It was like the last couple of days of school, full classes, and I come over up to my room, and I look out, and there's these three guys. They're seniors, and all three fellows were really good guys. I knew one especially very well. In fact, I've done his wedding. He's a doctor in Los Angeles, and I baptized his first child. Anyway, he was one of them. Great kid. But the three guys, but they were around the fountain here, next to my room, the fountain behind the chapel. And they had a big rubber band around the top of that fountain, shooting the water balloons over the chapel, where they would land. And I just kind of waited for a minute, and they were doing another one. And I just said, gentlemen, God is watching. And they froze up. And I wasn't going to turn them into the dean. I said, if I see you anymore, you'll be setting chairs up for your graduation. But I thought I'd tell you a story. It's kind of, don't get any ideas. God is watching, okay? But it's been fun. So not having you guys here for since really almost a year has been tough on us, okay? So enjoy. I hope that you could have those of you who are seniors and those of you who are juniors, I think will be going to be okay. But let's ride out this year and hopefully we can be all at graduation, okay? God bless you guys.
So I just want to add a couple things, because I've had an incredible opportunity to spend so much time with Father Wade, not only during my time as a student, but throughout the years, and then obviously working with him now. And I would say, you get an understanding of how good he is with people. But the other piece that I appreciate is, and he touched on it, is his optimism. He always sees the silver lining and the goodness in people. And it's something, that's had an incredible impact on me, is just, his ability to see the good. And to the point he made earlier, you'll never hear a bad word, Father Wade say a bad word about anyone. And that's an incredible quality that obviously I struggle with that from time to time, but just to have an example like Father Wade has been so awesome. So with that, I don't know if we have any other closing remarks. And as I said, guys, there's been no figure at Bellarmine that's had a greater impact on our history than Father Wade in so many ways. So you're with a living legend.
Anyway, pray for me because I have to work for Pat, okay? He checks on about how much money I bring in every week. So take care. God bless you guys, okay? Say hello to your parents too.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Father
you.
Wade.
Go Bells.
Thank you. Go Bulls.
Thank
Go
you.
Bells,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Go
you.
Bells.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ashok and Samarth, very
Of
much
course.
for
Absolutely.
asking me, okay? God bless. Thank you.